I'm not going to go over 10 because go past 10 Pacific time. So 1 hour. And the reason is it's just not healthy for highly sensitive people to overdo it on Zoom. So I have a bunch of notes here. And first I'm going to go over, before I tell you a little bit more about my story, I'm going to go over Zoom prep for meetings. And I'm going to encourage you to do these things if you haven't done them. First of all, I try to attend every meeting with my camera off. That means that I can see, but they can't see me. And there's something really nice about it. I do have, as you can see, a profile picture, so it kind of looks like I'm there. A nice, slightly posed version of me. And if you don't have your camera, it will show you a picture in your profile. It will show your name. So I see that we're having lots of people from the Alane Facebook group. Alane and High Sensitivity. It's a private Facebook group. And I would love to have you, if you're highly sensitive, please join us there. If you do join us, you have to fill out 3 questions or you won't be admitted to the group. And in one of the questions, why do you want to be in this group? You could say, Alane Freund referred me. All right, so my questions for you, and this is like one little thing I'm going to say is when I have notes for something, I have a music stand near my computer where I have my important notes, some that I always keep there, like my breathing exercises we'll talk about, but also I can just write them here and I can put them right up against my screen and you can't even tell they're there and I see them right in front of me. So that's a great way to do it if you're teaching or presenting on Zoom. If you use little index cards or these are envelopes that are probably 6 by 9. So sometimes I just put my reminders because I get overstimulated on camera. You probably do too if you're highly sensitive. All right, so here's your Zoom prep. I just wanted you to check down this list and see if you've done these things to get ready. Choose your device carefully. If you're just listening and you're not going to get on camera at all, I really recommend using the Zoom app on your phone because then you can lay down or relax in your recliner. You can even go outside. And my colleague, Marcy Silverberg, who is an ergonomics expert, is often walking during her meetings. The thing is, if you have to talk, walking isn't great because it's a lot of background noise. But if you could be muted, so look down at the bottom of your screen if you're on a computer, and look around if you're on another device, and look for the microphone and the camera icons. Those are ways that you can turn off in any Zoom meeting. Turn off your microphone and turn off your video. I have in my Zoom settings, my camera and my microphone off when I join every meeting. So I decide when I can be heard. Now, I saw somebody pop in with the chat that I'm not reading the chat, but when it comes up on my screen, I see that they're lying down right now and I love that. Okay, let me wait until I get into those whole lots of advice. So turn your camera and your microphone off. This is a webinar, so we can't hear or see you anyway, but it's good practice. It's how you can practice for Zoom meetings. Get yourself really comfortable. I think it's really important before every Zoom meeting that you lay down and stretch and also move your body. Now, many of you know that my favorite self-care technique is to lay down on the floor or on my bed and put my legs straight up on the wall. If you lay like that for 3 minutes with your eyes closed, it's just a yoga inversion, but it's, it's friendly to the likes of me who are not yoginis. If you lay like that for 3 minutes with your eyes closed, your whole circulation system recirculates. And it's equivalent, they say, to a 30-minute nap. So, I mean, you could do it right now during this webinar. So I think it's a really good thing to do before you start. Also to move your body, whatever that might be. I have a lovely young teen client who decided that one of her self-care techniques was to do musical dancing to music. So throw a song on YouTube and dance before. Now, once you're sitting down, you want to be prepared in your workspace. My workspace is that I have a footstool right down here beside me. So during the meeting, and this is something that Marcy Silverberg will put her link up in a moment, will tell you, is during the meeting, I can move my hips. And good computer use and good self-care is to keep your hips moving. Now, I get a little overstimulated when I'm teaching. For those of you who work on Zoom, it's not a bad thing to set yourself a little silent timer that you can see. You can also take your phone. Here's mine. Oh, look, there is my website, areyouhighlysensitive.com. We have a membership there where we do twice a month webinars for highly sensitive people. Feel free to come and join. And I want to tell you that I'm offering $10 off your first month if you're here on this webinar. And we'll say that the coupon code for that is Zoom HSP. So I haven't put the discount code in yet, but now my phone is right here in front of me and I can see the time. So remind yourself, if you have a countdown timer, that you want to move your hips every 5 minutes. The other thing that I would like you to do every 5 minutes, if you possibly can, is take a drink. So if you haven't gotten a drink, turn the volume up, go to the kitchen and get a glass of water or a cup of tea or coffee. It's good, actually, virus prevention too. I read somewhere drinking a warm liquid every 15 minutes was recommended. So keep the systems moving in your body as well as your hips. So the movement thing, the footstep, it doesn't really matter. You can bring one knee up. I just lost you. My phone fell, so maybe that's not a good strategy. I don't actually normally do that, but you're probably more adept at it than I am. I'm a klutz. I sometimes just bring one knee up and put it on my chair like this. So keep the hip angles moving. Alrighty. In your profile settings, as I already mentioned, you can turn your camera and your mic off, and it will always start every meeting with it off, and then you can turn it on when you're ready. Stretch, move. Oh, nobody wants to see you eating on Zoom. I think it's okay to drink. I've noticed that that's not so distracting, but if you have a snack, and I'm not going to say, there are people on this webinar who have seen me chewing because I require dark chocolate in order to teach. So, but what you should do is turn off your camera when you're having a snack. There's nothing wrong with it. We highly sensitive people are sensitive to blood sugar fluctuations as well. I love to have a pen and paper near me so that I can take notes. And so I always have that. And I'm going to give you some things to write down today. You might want to be writing these things down. I've had requests to make this webinar available on YouTube. And if I feel good about the product, I'll do that. But go ahead and take notes now, just in case, because you never know. Pen, paper. Okay, so I'm talking to you on a laptop. I'm not using a fancy camera at all. And I wanted to say that you can be all different distances from the camera. See how I've moved back a little bit? I think it's really important to experiment with what feels comfortable to you. I had a Zoom makeover consultation with Shelley Golden. Feel free to email us, Laura and me, at areyouhighlysensitive@gmail.com if you would like a referral to her. I think it's worth, I think it's maybe $130, $150 US. So if you're working on Zoom, it's worth calling her. She told me this is the only article of clothing in my wardrobe that I have right now, because I can't go to the stores, right? That is a good color for me to wear on Zoom. So I was kind of thinking, I wore this in my webinar on Monday, and I was thinking maybe I'll just always, this will be my Zoom uniform until it gets hot. I have lights, and it's pretty clear when you look at all the tutorials. You can look at a million tutorials. I like Seth Godin. He has a lot of good advice on his blog about Zoom. That outdoor light is great. My house is not set up for facing a window, because if I face a window, I have a huge window behind me. It's a small cottage and the light thing is wrong. So since I do this professionally, I had to buy lights. I got YouTuber lights, Fovatech, and they're 2 big box lights. They are maybe about $100 for the 2 of them. It was a worthwhile investment for me. And you can see it's still not perfect because they're the cheap ones. I'm good with it. I hope you can tolerate my lighting. I did not bring this example, but I do want to say that moisture eye drops are critical. We're going to talk in a minute about closing your eyes as much as possible. In fact, let's all just close our eyes now, please. If you close your eyes for 30 seconds, it gives your brain a reset. And here's the reason. We bring in 80% of our stimulation through our eyes. So by closing them for 30 seconds, many times a day, maybe every time you take a drink, that could be when you remember to close your eyes for 30 seconds. You reduce your stimulation input and thus your overstimulation. And for therapists, and there's a lot of therapists on this call, because we really need to take care of ourselves. We're working on video. It might not always be Zoom, but it's all basically, Zoom's like Band-Aid and Kleenex now, lucky them. I should have bought stock. So whenever you're on the camera, it's really important to close our eyes and to get our clients and our participants in our webinars to close their eyes. everybody will feel so much better later. So moisture eye drops, you can get homeopathic ones. If you're a more holistically oriented person, I use Similisand. They have about 6 different flavors of homeopathic eye drops, but they do have one for dry eyes. So, but anything you get at any drugstore for dry eyes, I think is a great thing to do. There's no doubt that we're keeping our eyes kind of bugged out and more open a lot when we're looking at the camera. It's not like natural communication. So that brings me to my computer glasses. I'm wearing them today because I want to practice what I preach. I don't know if you can see, they're pretty thick lenses. You can get them without a prescription and without magnification. I use readers. I use all different, I have 3 different glasses, bifocals, distance, and readers, depending on what I'm doing. So I got a low magnification for looking at the computer. These screen out the blue light coming from the computer, and my eyes are truly less exhausted ever since one of my mentors told me to get these glasses. I ordered them off of Amazon for $15. They seem to be plenty adequate. I don't think they have, you know, good enough. You can see the lights reflecting. They're not perfect anti-glare. They're not expensive, but they are, I just purely have them on to practice what I preach and protect my eyes. And I use them now whenever I'm working on the computer. You can also buy a screen cover that's a blue light filter and turn the light down on your monitor. All right. I want to talk about ergonomics just a little bit more. This whole moving the hip thing, this is a good time, Laura. If you could put Marcy Silverberg's 3.5 minute video up. It's on YouTube. She has a channel. She's actually a suite mate of mine, but I think Marcy Silverberg is going to become internationally famous. She's brilliant at physical therapy. She's a specialist in women's physical therapy and pelvis health, but she also happens to have been an orthopedic physical therapist for many years, and she's certified in ergonomics. And when I posted this advertisement on Facebook, I put that behind the scenes picture that somebody in my household took that of me doing a webinar, and Marcy texted me right away, "You need to get a wireless keyboard," because I had my hands up on my keyboard typing, and I do still sometimes not use the extra keyboard, but I do have a keyboard, and I want to show you this. This is I'm not into wireless because I'm an HSP and all that stuff kind of makes me paranoid, and I don't know if it overstimulates me, so just in case. This is a trackpad, and I have it plugged in. I'm talking to you on a Microsoft Surface, and I don't think I can get this in front of the camera, no. But I had to get a little thing that lets me plug in 3 USB cords to be able to use the keyboard and the trackpad. But now my mouse is down at my lap level, and that is definitely better if you're working on Zoom. Okay, one more thing I have on this note about setting up. Everybody's gotten their notepad and their pen. I have a little bench back here that the plant is sitting on, and I can stick things there that I need access to, and I don't have to move really far away. Behind me here, this is a room divider that I got on Amazon when I started doing Are You Highly Sensitive live webinars, and I can move it wherever I need to in my house, which is really important. People often think I'm at the barn because I'm a horsewoman and I do equine assisted psychotherapy, so that's why I chose a barn room divider. But it's really important for me because I do have to run away from the sun, and because it just comes in and blinds me and my audience. Now, I also have a little table right over here. I'm going to show you. And this is my supply table. So women, you probably will be more resonating with this. I have a little magnifying mirror so I can check my mascara or whatever I need to. A little bit of extra lipstick and lip gloss. I have my mala, so if I need to do a mantra, I can use it, sort of like a rosary if you're Catholic. My BNI name tag, because I'm in BNI and I attend 2 meetings a week there. Hairbrush, and most importantly, my glass of water. My tea's right here with on my computer desk. Take a drink. Whenever I take a drink, I encourage you to take one. Okay. Oh, and this is my God or Goddess box. I actually call it my intention box or my gratitude box. We made them at our last retreat at 1440 Multiversity in November. And it's a place that can contain all of the stuff that I take in. And it's, for me, I hold mine inside, but I always like to show an example of it. And you're welcome to make one too. Now, the fact that you can see my supply table is not good. Let me move it a little bit. I like to keep it off screen, but within reach. So that's my Zoom setup. So is everybody set up? Okay. I want to talk just briefly. Whenever I do these big webinars like this, we have a variety of people. So some of you are experts on highly sensitive people. You teach and you're a therapist and you've been knowing about this for years, this trait. And some of you might have just kind of stumbled upon here and really you don't know what the heck we're talking about. So what I thought I would do is tell you a little bit about myself as a highly sensitive person and talk about, I'm going to cross my legs and change my hip angle. So if you're sitting at a desk, please take care of yourself and do something similar. I'm going to tell you from the perspective of DOES, how this is all impacting me, this, working online. I'm an introvert, so part of me loves it, part of me hates it. I love the ability to have access to more people, to help more people. And if you've watched my recent, I'm just about to send out a newsletter today. If you're not on my mailing list, please get on it quickly because I'm going to send out a big newsletter. I'm in the middle of writing it and I'm a perfectionist. That's one of the things. Deep processing is D. So we process things deeply. Think about this. Are you an overthinker? Do you really know and think about what's going on behind all the issues? Are you somebody who gets a little stuck because you're thinking so much and it's harder to put out your product, whatever it is? I am one of those people. So deep processing is the first characteristic of someone who has the trait of high sensitivity. The scientific name for this trait is sensory processing sensitivity. All it really means is that your brain's a little more reactive and your nervous system is more finely tuned. You can use any of that lingo to describe yourself, but here's the fact. This has been seen in the research for over 100 years worth of psychological and behavioral research. This trait has been evidenced. It wasn't given the name until Elaine Aron named it in about 1995 or 96. Sensory processing sensitivity is the trait of highly sensitive people, but it is in over 100 species, documented scientifically. Maybe it's in every species. There's even research on this trait in fruit flies and fish. So why? Why do we have this strategy? Why do we have about 1 out of 5 members of each species who have a more reactive brain and a more finely tuned nervous system? We're the canaries. We're the ones who notice what our society or our family or our tribe or our herd needs before the others do. There's no advantage if we're not in a minority, and truthfully, we need 80% who don't have the trait. In some of the research that we call them, and on my website, alanefreund.com, you can see I write about us as orchids and dandelions, which is terminology used in Sweden. And I think we have someone here from Sweden, so welcome. So the dandelions are 80%, they're more resilient, and we need most of us to be more resilient. And you can also find me talking somewhere on YouTube about how sometimes I grieve that I have this trait. I do not really want to always be thinking. And at the same time, I see it as a responsibility to my species. And so, okay, so D. So I'm thinking about all the Zoom stuff, like the things that might not bother other people, they bother me. And that's normal for my trait. O is easily overstimulated. I've already been talking about being overstimulated a lot. So if you are easily overstimulated, it's really important to use your D, your deep processing, to find out what is overstimulating you, what makes you feel overwhelmed, and manage it. So time for a drink. Take a drink, everybody, please. Close your eyes. Sometimes I do what's called a mindful drink. I take the liquid, I feel the cup on my lip, and I take the liquid into my mouth and I let it sit in my mouth and feel it for a moment. And then I swallow it and I feel it coming down. So I was just talking about O made me a little overstimulated and knowing how many people are here. So the O just means that if you're thinking so deeply about so many things, you can get pretty worked up about it. But also the E and the S make us overstimulated, but the O is the only disadvantage to this trait. Please believe me when I tell you it's true. The E is that we have stronger emotional responses or emotional reactions and empathy. And you know what? Recently, a colleague said, I really don't like highly reactive brain or emotional reactivity because it seems like there's a negative connotation to it. maybe. And I respect that. And a lot of people say emotionally responsive instead. The thing is, though, folks, here's what I'm going to tell you. I noticed that the reason you can see all my junk is because my computer was still tipped down from when I was showing you. We are more reactive. It's real. And it's not negative. It's something that we need for our species to survive. So don't be afraid of being reactive, but probably most of us have been told our whole lives that we're just too sensitive, hypersensitive. In fact, in France, the word for high sensitivity is hypersensitive, something like that. My French is gone, but I have a colleague, Elsa Marie Brunner, who speaks French and has written a book about high sensitivity in France. And it's one of her frustrations and mine too, that the actual vocabulary word for it says hypersensitivity. So don't be afraid of reactivity, but if you're doing all that deep thinking, you're going to have strong emotional reactions. And have you cried on Zoom? I have. It ain't pretty. And at the same time, it's real. We are the folks who practice emotional leadership. So when I say I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I'm sick of it, I'm sick of the word pivot. That's why I was reframing it in that video that we showed at the beginning. And you can find that video by looking up Alane Freund pivot on YouTube. So if you missed it. So here's something really important. We have so much empathy. That's also the E. But sometimes we can get a little too focused on others and not do a good enough job of taking care of ourselves. And what I'm going to talk about, what I'm talking about today about Zoom for highly sensitive people is about boundaries, about your own boundaries. Like, it is okay to close your eyes when you're on camera even, and to encourage your students or clients to close their eyes. We do really need that. Okay, S, sensitivity to subtle stimuli. We notice every little thing. Like, I notice that the light right now is reflecting off my nose in spite of the fact that I have a ton of makeup on it. You know, I wish I could change the angle of it, but as the light changes in my house, it happens. So noticing a little thing like that, or getting a little bit warm, or feeling a little uncomfortable, these things, I notice every little thing. As soon as the sun moves and a new sunbeam is coming in my house, what's normally beautiful and wonderful for me, I'm like, oh, I'm on Zoom, I'm noticing that, I'm thinking about it. It can be hard to notice the little things, but also you notice them and you can change them, especially if you set your boundaries. So that's what I wanted to say about being highly sensitive and my perspective on it. So I have asked everyone to put in the chat where they're from. Now I would like everyone to please put, for everyone who's listening in, I know sometimes highly sensitive people find the chat overstimulating. Yes, thank you. I see most of you have introduced yourself, and that's great. I see one question in the Q&A, and I'm going to be taking questions in a little bit. And I will take a couple of people on screen with me if you would like me to look at your Zoom presentation and give you my 2 cents. And now in the chat, I would like everyone to put your one tip. If you have 2 or 3, go ahead. I know your HSPs, your deep processors, you've got lots of great ideas, but heck, share them. I want to see them. I'm not reading the chat right now, but I will read it later. And so please give me your 2 cents about how you take care of yourself on Zoom, or what makes you feel good when you're working or socializing on Zoom. I think it's okay to do less. I know that people are lonely because you've been sheltering in place and things are starting to change, but I'm going to post on my Facebook page later today something that I ran across a few weeks ago. Every week, a bunch of teenagers in my town, I live in a tiny town north of San Francisco, a bunch of teenagers in my town or in my area gather in the community center parking lot in Woodacre, California, and they back their cars into a large circle. Every car is about 8 or 10 feet from the car next to it, but also the circle's very large, maybe 30 feet across to get, it's probably six or 7 people. And they sit in their trunk or in their hatch. They sit on their car and have a gathering. I stopped by and I said, can I take your kid's picture? I just love this. They thought they were in trouble. And I said, you're emotional leaders. Whoever thought that up is a highly sensitive teen, I'll guarantee you, or maybe their highly sensitive parent. because they thought about it. Isn't that brilliant? But my point is, you don't have to do everything. I'm a high sensation seeker, so I overdo like crazy. I saw someone pop up that be a real person on Zoom, and you can see that I'm me. I totally am. Okay, so you're putting in Zoom your suggestions and your ideas, and maybe we'll ask Hannah. My high school intern is on this call, and she's quite an amazing little mover and shaker. And I think I'll ask Hannah to type up all of the, Hannah, copy and paste out of the chat all of the suggestions, and we'll turn it into a document that we can put on Facebook. You can see now, folks, that I'm putting a lot of content on Facebook. So I hope if you're on Facebook, you'll come and follow me there. You can friend me too. I only do professional stuff on Facebook. Oh, if you're going to be like me, you're going to forget to drink or move your hips or close your eyes. Those are the three things that I think we should do every 5 to 10 minutes. Set a timer. Oh, I already said that. Okay. One more card full of notes. I'm going to bring it over to the computer. It's on my music stand, and now it's right here. So the question is, are you casual versus professional? If you are working as a professional on Zoom, you do need to get your lighting, your camera angle, and your clothing right. You need to be really sure that you're not moving around too much. Now, I have seasonal allergies. In fact, I've lost my hanky. It probably fell on the floor. So I have to be really careful to have Kleenex available. And sometimes you just have to be real. And sometimes I joke about that. I think nobody looks better on Zoom or any video than when they're outdoors. Outdoors is amazing. Now, I have ravens in my trees, and they are loud as anything. I have a client who loves them. So if we did a Zoom meeting, I could definitely sit out on my deck, but they're distracting to me. I have a microphone, a fancy microphone that was probably $50 that I got off of watching YouTubers telling me how to be a YouTuber. I do this because I'm professional. You don't need it. Earbuds are perfectly fine. They work great. The microphone works great. The thing about it is, if it rubs on your clothing, if it works on your clothing, you can rubs on your clothing. You can be really distracting by having it, making background noise. And if you are not speaking, it's really important that you mute your microphone when you're moving around. So microphones, lights, it's always better to face a window, and then your light is very natural. There is an app called Crisp, K-R-I-S-P, Crisp. Maybe somebody, Hannah or Laura, you could type that in the chat for folks. You can look it up. It takes away background noise. There is also earbuds, Crisp, mic. The earbuds, I see people with Apple AirPods on and their sound seems great. I am not an Apple person, so I have some other earbuds, and people can never hear me on the webinars or on Zoom if I wear my earbuds. So it's okay to ask the person if they can hear. Can you hear me? I know that I saw Renee, one of my friends and mentors, is on here, and that it was hard to hear me. So I'll speak up a little bit. Sometimes I feel like I yell into Zoom, and some people do. So you want to be really careful. You don't actually have to block, you don't have to yell or project really loudly into it. I said block because I saw somebody pop up that you get negative energy. Oh my gosh, I get so much. Somebody told me, a mentor told me that that you're making an impact when you start to get trolls and critics. You have to be you. But close your eyes again now. I'm going to invite everyone to close your eyes for 30 seconds. The chat will still be there. You can still look at it. And you can really allow yourself to see, a boundary around you, a circle around you. I like to think of my shield as transparent. I can see through it, but it's like a one-way mirror. I can turn it off so you can't see me, even if I can see you, or the other way around. I don't have to look through it. And it can actually block the criticism. If you are able to allow yourself to have that shield, and I really recommend you read some science fantasy for young adults, because there's always psychic kids in there being taught how to shield. And when you have deep empathy, it's really hard not to take in and take personally everything everyone says. Alrighty, moving right along. Breathing exercises. Here's the thing. Things that bug me only bug me mostly when I'm overstimulated and I haven't done enough self-care. Let's take a couple breaths right now and pay attention to them. We've been going here for 35 minutes officially, and I think it's really important to move now. I'm not going to get up and move, even though I should. Maybe I will. Okay, I'm going to turn off my camera and stand up. I'm going to do that so it's not too distracting, and I want to just encourage everyone to change how you're sitting. Oh, look, I found my hanky. So reach your arms up to the sky and stretch a little bit. As much as it's important when you're sitting to move your hips, truly watch Marcy's Ergonomics video on YouTube. It's not just about moving your hips. There's a lot more really great stuff. And all of her videos are really good. I'm twisting. So I'm going to turn my video back on, but I encourage you to stay standing and moving around. The principal, the headmaster, whatever you call this person at my son's school, has a treadmill at my son's ex-high school. He's graduated now, has a treadmill with her computer on it. That's ideal. I'd like to be able to figure out how to bicycle on my on a stationary bike and do Zoom. Okay, so when I stood up, I realized I hadn't told you about my balls. You can make this out of 2 tennis balls. Go to the dog park. They always have some abandoned ones. Tape them together with, athletic tape. You tape around long ways, and then you tape around the middle to hold them like this, to make a little hole here. And this goes on either side of your spine. You can roll it up and down. And I almost never sit in a desk chair at my computer without that on. Okay, moving down my list here. Okay, breathing. That's where I was. So there are a lot of different breathing exercises, and many of you on this webinar have some. I'm going to tell you 2 that I'm working with right now in my life and encourage you, because these are things you can do even when you're teaching. If you take a moment or someone's talking, or definitely being a therapist, we let our clients do a lot of talking. So you can do it while people are talking. No one will ever know. But if you're a therapist or a parent and you do a breathing exercise with your client or your child, you're just modeling how to take care of yourself, and it's brilliant. So here we go. The first one is the straw breath. And all you do is you pretend you have a straw and think about what it looks like when you have a straw in your mouth. And what we're going to do is breathe in through the nose for a count of 4, and then blow out through the straw for twice as long, so a count of 8. And then you can count whatever speed you want. So let's give it a try. So you're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and then out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You don't have to actually pucker. You can just go. One thing that helps me when I'm doing this kind of breathing is to take a really big breath in and fill my lungs as far as I can, as wide, as full as I can. And then I usually do hold a little bit after the in-breath. And then blowing out through the straw is a very small exit point, and it really slows you down. So the straw breath, I'm sure you can find all kinds of videos on YouTube talking about how to do it. The other breath that I'm working with this week is box breathing. So I imagine a square. Since I'm looking at my monitor quite a bit, it's actually a rectangular, but I imagine a square right there on the screen in front of me. And I'm going to 4 even sides. So I'm going to inhale on one side, hold on the other side, exhale on the other side, and then hold again. Usually I do my holds on the top and bottom, but you can envision it however you want. So let's just do that. And it doesn't matter what the time is. The point is, because it's a square, that you make the time even. So just the fact that I'm going to have to count to keep it even is going to interrupt my overstimulation, my spinning brain, if I have it going on, or my fear or my empathy or whatever is going on for me in that moment. All completely valid and legitimate feelings. So we'll inhale, hold, exhale, hold. When you're doing breathing work, breath work, I like to suggest for HSPs that we not overachieve. You'll see on videos on YouTube or whatever, spiritual teachers, that you should do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I'm rolling my eyes. I can get overstimulated. It's not enough to turn my brain off to do a breathing exercise. I think it's been a long time since I drank. So I'm going to ask you to start with 10 breaths. And if that's too much for you and you start to feel anxious or overwhelmed while you're doing it, do 5. Do the number that works for you. As you practice these things, you get better. Okay, I've got to keep moving because I really want to do some questions. I have only two more tools for you right now before we go into questions. If you want me to answer a question, you have to put in the Q&A. There's only one in there. Let me see what it is. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Lorna. Oh, I forgot to tell you one more self-care tip on Zoom. I'm going to go back before I come into my 2 other tools that are general. You can use these in any situation, not just on Zoom. But for Zoom, if you're ever somewhere where you just want to kind of attend anonymously, you can change your name. So if you go, there's lots of different places, but I usually use the 3 dots up to the right of my little square that is myself. And you can also do it in your profile and rename yourself with a pseudonym. You can, if you're professional, you can change. I was going to rename myself today. I forgot and put areyouhighlysensitive.com. But I have LMFT, my therapy license. So let me just say to you that although I'm a licensed therapist in California, this is in no way therapy. I'm just telling you my experience, strength, and hope. So again, you can rename yourself. And if you have a question, please do put it in the Q&A. If you already put it in the chat, I'll never see it until after this is over. Okay, 2 more tools. Many of you probably know about the idea of hard gaze versus soft gaze. Hard gaze is when you choose something, usually I choose something at least 10 feet away, and you focus on it really, really hard. You focus on it so strongly that it's almost like the rest of the world around you becomes an impressionist painting. It's, in your peripheral vision, all of that, it's there, but it's not in your conscious mind. A soft gaze is when you imagine that it's a camera lens and you're going to open up the zoom out on a camera lens. So go from your focal point and then allow your eyes to widen what they see, wider and wider and wider and wider, until you can even see out to the sides where you can't see my hands, but I can in my peripheral vision, and allow yourself to see everything equally. This is how prey animals see, because their eyes are on the side of their head. So allow yourself to see the whole world as an impressionist painting. And then zoom in again on your focal point, whatever that might be. This is something that you can do anytime you're on camera, anytime you're anywhere, and it really helps shift the brain. I love this technique. Again, I think that's from yoga. You can look that up too. Or you can schedule a consultation with me, and I'm happy to teach you all these things one-on-one. So the last one, this is from another colleague of mine, and reminded me of this, but there's a lot about bilateral stimulation of the brain, which helps us get out of our loop. If you're in the hula hoop and you start pivoting, what HSPs do? We start spinning like a reining horse. Stacy Westfall on YouTube, you can watch her spinning her black stallion bridleless. It's a beautiful, beautiful video. But that's when a horse plants one back foot and goes around really, really, really fast. So the thing about that is, if you don't sit back and get grounded, you fall off when the horse does that. You know what? When my brain starts spinning really fast as I'm pivoting, if I'm not just pivoting and looking out the vectors with a soft gaze, then I fall off of myself. I fall off of my life. So when you want to sort of stop that, but I get in that many times a day. I'm sure many of you do too. A little overstimulation and my mind is whirring around on the hamster wheel. So when we want to do that, when we want to stop that, we need to bilaterally stimulate our brain. There's lots of different ways to do it. I really love tapping, and I really like Brad Yates on YouTube and his tapping exercises. I'm going to make a recommendation. I don't know him, but he's really straightforward and down to earth. So you can just tap your thighs. I'll just hit my microphone. Tap your thighs one at a time, any speed, hard or soft. And therapists and presenters, you can just use a few fingers and you don't have to even move your whole hand. I just can tap like this. Anytime you can do this, and it will help bring down your overstimulation. Okay, I ran through those really fast. Probably forgot some things, but I really want to be sure we do some questions. If there's anyone who would, please private chat Laura. And if you would like to, she's a panelist and co-host, so that's how you can easily find her, or you can private chat all the panelists. If you would like to come on and have me look at your Zoom, we have 15 minutes left, so I'm actually watching the time, and I'd like to take some questions now. Okay, so how do I get started demonstrating online? And if it's okay, Lauren, I'm going to just tell a little bit about, Lauren emailed me her question ahead of time. She's a ceramics artist, and she teaches ceramics to children. And so she finds herself having a hard time getting started. Now, as a highly sensitive person, I do think part of that is the deep processing. So I really do, Renee, you have to put that in the Q&A if you want me to see it and answer it. So I really do think that perfectionism is part of the problem. But I have another colleague who's a children's art therapist. And you know, if the kids are having to attend my friend's preschool, my friend's daughter's preschool is having the children show up on Zoom. I just don't think that's appropriate. You know what school is for children? Thank you, Renee. What school is for children is play and work. At the same time, we need some childcare, right? Those folks out there with young children, or your clients with young children, they need some entertainment for their children. And so something like a ceramics class or an art therapy session, or you can look up Sterling the Bubblesmith. He's another colleague and friend of mine. He teaches folks how to make bubbles with their hands on Zoom now. And he's quite amazing. If you, Laura, can you find Sterling the Bubblesmith, Sterling Johnson the Bubblesmith website, and put that on the chat? Some folks might like that. So it is a really, really, really good thing that people would love to have help. So I think art classes on Zoom are a great idea. One of the things that I've had to really work on is to just allow myself to be imperfect. And a friend of mine told me this week that she thought I was really getting it dialed on Zoom. And she said, "You look like a newscaster." And you know what I did? Elaine Aaron, who's my mentor, told me to watch women on news shows. So I started studying the Today Show. There's actually co-anchors that are both women. And like, I watch them because you're not always talking. And I just thought, I am no Savannah Guthrie, let me tell you. No plastic surgery here. And not that I'm opposed, I just don't have any. And I built my confidence that way. Here's another thing. I think it's really good to make a few videos. You can turn the video on your phone or your computer and teach your class with no audience. That is a brilliant way to start and to try. Finally, I would really encourage families to find a way to prop the phone or the camera or the computer up so that the kid can just be on their own, not thinking about the camera. You can see them and talk to them. They probably don't need to see you. Or you can say, "Hey, Sally, I want to show you something. Will you come and look at the computer for a moment? And then you'll show them something with the clay, and then say, go give that a try, and you'd be watching them. But I want to say that whatever you do is helpful, and there is no reason not to do it. So make some videos online, just start watching yourself. To do what my friend and colleague Candy Crawford, she was on our webinar on Monday about parenting. Do what she does. She just takes her phone, she's out taking a walk, she puts it up in front of herself, turns on the video, and records something for me. Isn't that brilliant? So Sequoia, I see that. How do you make a video online? That is outside the scope of this conversation, but I bet you could hire either Laura or Hannah to tell you that. You're also welcome to reach out to me. I have a YouTube account, and I really want to beg all of you, please, if you would like to give something back to me, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, it would mean the world to me. I had 3 YouTube channels, and I'm trying to move everything onto one. So now I don't have very many views or subscribers, and I'm trying to grow that, because when I have more, I will have, when I have more, then YouTube will show my videos to HSPs when they search it. So I really need more subscribers on my YouTube channel, Alane Freund, LMFT. Maybe Laura, would you please put that in the chat? So, dang, you're fast, Laura Darkstar at Minderella.com. You probably have more work than you know what to do with, because you're so good. Okay, so make a YouTube channel, and then you just upload your videos off your computer. Question, how can I block the negative energy I sense and absorb from other people? This has sent me into spirals that have landed me in the hospital several times. I struggle with accepting that not everyone likes me, and I am easily offended. Me too, Katie. I'm going to swear. Close your eyes if it offends you. I mean, close your ears if it offends you. Damn it. I don't want to be so sensitive in that way. So here's what I know. When I exercise like a fiend, when I meditate like a fiend, and I am not kidding, a lot more than I think I'm capable of, and when I spend time being entertained, this is something that another colleague of mine, Monica Zimmerman, Zimmerman Circle, says all the time. What is something that you love to do? And spend 1 hour every day doing something that you love to do. And for me, I have to admit, it's reading fiction. It's my favorite thing. And I since my eyes are tired from the computer, I listen to a lot of fiction. You've all heard me say that. So we are responsible for our own skin, HSPs. You are very sensitive and very impacted by what other people think, say, and do. You notice every little thing, even just a little weird eye contact or a funny little shape of someone's mouth when they're talking to you can make you feel that they're feeling critical or unhappy or disapproving in some way. And I really want to say that if you are taking better care of yourself, you will be stronger at blocking the negative energy. And again, Katie, if you shoot me an email, I will tell you some of my favorite authors that I've read throughout my adult life. Most of these books are written for young adults, but I love Anne McCaffrey and Marion Zimmer Bradley and Mercedes Lackey and Tamora Pierce. Tamora Pierce is a more contemporary writer. And most of these books are written for teenagers. They're great entertainment. But if you look in there, you cannot believe how much you will learn about shielding from these women writing these imaginary worlds where young people come in and they have that same problem. And a mentor comes along and teaches them to meditate and develop shields. Ursula Le Guin. So chairs and ergonomics. Thank you for this question, Renee. I've been changing chairs like crazy. And I think one thing that's really, really important is to have a lot of pillows and cushions. I'm going to show you something else now. I am using my son's little computer chair that we found on the side of the road. now that he's done with school. And I have this cushion that is sold sort of for meditation. Is that upside down? Yes. I don't think it matters which brand, but this was sort of moderately priced. That's a highly sensitive, deep processor, folks, I want to tell you. Amazon is a dangerous place for me. It's really hard for me to decide. Does anybody want to come on? I don't see anybody in the Q&A who'd like to come on. We have 6 minutes left while I'm finishing up this conversation, and have me look at you on Zoom and give you my 2 cents. I would recommend Shelley Golden. Again, tell her I sent you. And if you would like her contact information, feel free to shoot us an email, areyouhighlysensitive@gmail.com. So this thing has memory foam in it. I'm not even going to sit for the last 5 minutes without it. You put the dip at the back, that's for your tailbone. And it took a little getting used to, but it's a great thing to sit on. So I use these various things to make whatever chair I have work. I try to change my posture frequently. Don't forget the footstool. I'm going to use it now because I've forgotten. Oh, I just looked down at my footstool and saw a note that I wanted to use. Okay, how to handle in Zoom groups. Here's another question. How to handle it in the Zoom groups or workshops we lead. And folks are overstimulating us with making annoying little noises, moving around a lot with hand gestures, glaring light and back, and on and on. We don't want to sound like a bad cop constantly. Yeah, Renee. And we send them the tips and they still don't do them. Listen, I really think Renee's a therapist and one of my consultants and mentors. And I want to say that I think it's really important that we also teach our clients how to behave. And, but at the same time, they have to do self-care. And I know sometimes when you're doing therapy, it's hard to have people turn their cameras off. And each group, I think, has to decide to come up with a group consensus about what is the best way to take care of our group and each other and ourselves. So I really think it's totally fine to not always look at the camera, to ask people to change their lighting, to ask people to mute themselves. And I'm not sure if a lot of therapists are using Zoom clones. I'm not sure if the one that you are using, all you therapists out there, gives you the power to mute everybody. But on Zoom, when you are a host or a co-host, you can mute everybody and then unmute them when it's time to talk. And I like to train everybody in every meeting I attend to do that, to mute themselves. Now, back to Lorna's question at the beginning of how do I get started on something? I'm going to give you all a little activity. Can somebody chat? Can you read this? Look, don't look at my terrible nails. I work with horses and I haven't had a manicure in a long time. So this says, my reason not to what? Not to start teaching ceramics classes online. We'll use Lorna's example, but you can also, fantastic. Thank you, Laura. It's in the chat. My reason not to, whatever it is that you're not doing, is because of. Now, let's say, I'm going to just take you, Lorna, and make you my example. My reason not to start teaching ceramics classes is because I just don't know how to get started. Okay. Mine might be, my reason not to meditate is because I'm so busy, I don't have time. So if you want to take a moment in our last couple minutes to write down, what is something you're not doing that you have some reason not to? Yeah, I see you, Amy. I'm too overwhelmed with all the steps and all the options. I know. Listen, you're going to have this recording available to you, and but Zoom has so many amazing tutorials. It's just important to slow down and do less. Number one tip for HSPs. Okay, has everybody written their thing? My reason not to something is because. All right, here is the antidote. Cross out the word not. Ah, thank you. There's a good one. My reason not to quit coffee is it helps me wake up in the morning. Okay, now cross out the word not on your piece of paper, Sequoia, and say, my reason to quit coffee is because it helps me wake up in the morning. What would it be like to not need the caffeine in the coffee and be able to wake up in the morning and feel chipper and energized? What would you need to do that without the coffee? Exercise, meditate, journal. My reason not to meditate is I'm fearful of my partner's judgment. My reason to meditate is because I'm fearful of my partner's judgment. My reason not to teach ceramics online is because I don't know how to get started. My reason to teach ceramics online is because I don't know how to get started. Just do it. Just do it. So I encourage you to take this little coaching tool. I learned it on a webinar, and I love it. And to figure out what it is, and this uses my number one therapeutic tool, is the opposite. And I'm going to offer this to you. Whatever it is that you're saying to yourself that's hard, I want to ask you, what is the opposite? I'm so overwhelmed by all these tips and strategies. What's the opposite of that? There are so many tips and strategies and tools available to me. So take a breath, use your breathing exercises. You'll see if you get on my mailing list and you see my newsletters, I'm going to be preaching at you. You have to exercise more. Take care of yourself, move, and be gentle. Be gentle with yourself, highly sensitive people. You're so gentle with everyone else. The gentlest, most loving thing you can do for yourself is to set some boundaries with your own brain and your own life so that you can do the kind of self-care that you need to thrive in this world. I really hope to see you in our membership series, areyouhighlysensitive.com. Join our membership, use your discount code, and the discount code is Zoom HSP. I'll go on Square right now and put that on if you'd like to register. It is just for the first month. After that, you will be billed monthly for $37. So remember to cancel if it's not something that's serving you. Thanks for putting the discount code in. Thank you for being here. I'm really honored to have you here, and I can't wait to read all your great advice in the chat. Many, many blessings. Take care and goodbye.